Good morning, people. This is John Manuel Medeiros. I usually say part-time revolutionary, but I'm beginning to think that I'm really a full-time revolutionary. My thoughts woke me up this morning early. I had to get up, and I had to make this video to convey the message, a focused, concentrated message, the urgent message of the science from Jesus, from the gospel of Jesus. The word gospel is often translated as meaning good news. The part of the gospel that I find really important is the bad news part of the gospel. The bad news that we have a responsibility, and if we don't fulfill our responsibility, we could lose everything. Or might be more accurate to say we will lose everything. Now, I'm reminded that the mission of John Manuel, that's my website, lists of 4 tasks that were my bucket list, but it wasn't a bucket list of fun things to do before I die. It was tasks I wanted to achieve before I die. And the first was to clarify the scientific message of Jesus. And to many people, this is an outrageous idea, revolutionary, stupid, crazy. I mean, we have religion on one hand and science on the other. How can you bring them together? How can you say Jesus, the greatest moral teacher and religious teacher, that one of the greatest that we know of, could have been talking about science? Well, he was, and we missed it. We messed it up. The message was stolen and taken over by moralists and people who wanted to make people afraid and control people. Who knows what all their motives were, but they just were convinced that Jesus was talking about heaven in another world after death, a world that many people believe is just imaginary and not real. But my understanding of the teaching of Jesus is that the kingdom of heaven is the universe, the real physical universe in which we live, not an imaginary world, not another world. Early in the Gospels, Jesus makes reference to the mustard tree, which is, in fact, the tree of evolution. He makes reference to a farmer who throws seeds everywhere. It says the kingdom of heaven is like a farmer who throws seeds everywhere. Well, that's not an ordinary farmer, a real farmer on earth. Farmers don't throw seed everywhere or anywhere. Farmers put the seed exactly where they want it, where they can take care of it and nurture it. So what is this kingdom of heaven that throws seeds all over the place, including by the roadside and in places where they might not ever germinate and grow? Well, he's talking about the universe. And in our century, that teaching is being confirmed by science. The beginning of the 20th century, scientists said, well, life is unique. You have to have water, you have to have soil, sun, you have to have such, special conditions. Life must be very rare in the universe. Well, we have a totally different viewpoint coming from our scientists, especially from our astronomers and our physicists. Satellites that we have sent, the probes, have reported that water is everywhere. And it's beginning to look like life is almost everywhere. Living cells are found deep in the earth in stone. The components of DNA and single-celled animals are found in comets, in meteors. The teaching of Jesus was actually quite similar to the scientific teaching of the First Nations, our Native Americans, who said, walk the earth as though you are related to all that lives. Well, the Genome Project, in which we studied genetics, the genes of many animals, and especially the human genome or genome, that is what our genes are. And what did we find? We find that a human body includes thousands, perhaps millions of genes. I don't know how you would actually count this at the moment, but it's probably thousands of genes or tens of thousands that are found in lower animals and plants. So we are related to all that lives. And so when the Native Americans taught that to us, or tried to teach us, and we were a little reluctant to think that they knew anything, and when they tried to teach us this, they were absolutely right. We are related to all that lives. And that concept, which we called Native American superstition or Native American religion, was actually Native American science. They understood the extreme importance of the life-supporting environment, the sanctity of the water, the air, and the soil, and the land, and the trees, and all that lives. So, in the beginning, we get these hints that Jesus is talking about the real physical universe. He's not talking about an imaginary heaven where you go after you die. But later, in the middle, in the guts of the New Testament, Jesus is cited. I mean, these are words that are attributed to him. This is not commentators talking about what Jesus did or Jesus said. These are from the mouth of Jesus, and they're parables. And I count 13, and maybe some people would count a little differently, but there are 13 parables that are about servants or stewards. They're about good servants and good stewards, and sometimes about bad servants and bad stewards. Now, the most important concept that Jesus is getting across here, if you're paying attention and you are allowing yourself to understand that this is science, this is about the real physical universe in which we live here and now, you begin to see that a real important distinction here is the difference between good stewards and bad stewards. Or for those who prefer the word servant, good servants and bad servants. These two words are similar, and we have to accept the reality that when we study the New Testament in our own language, it's been translated anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 times from the original language. So we can't be 100% sure about the accuracy of the words, but servant and steward are very similar. And essentially what Jesus is saying, the difference between the good stewards and the bad stewards, is understanding and awareness of the importance of the responsibility of us as stewards and servants. That's why the title of my book is The Primacy of Stewardship. Because if you wanted to say, if you ask me, what is the message of Jesus in a few words, it is the primacy of stewardship. Because what Jesus is saying is that our place in the universe, our role in the universe, what we can do, because we are technological animals or intelligent beings. I don't think we rise to the level of intelligent beings because we have too many unintended consequences. That's what this is all about. That's what climate change is about, environmental damage, our destruction of life in the oceans, our poisoning of the soil and the water. All that is happening because of, quote, unintended consequences, which means basically humans are stupid and they don't know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. We constantly violate a fundamental law of science in the real, natural, physical world, and that is there is no such thing as a cause that has only one effect. Every cause, every chemical we use to clean or kill ants or kill mice or kill rats, or even the medicines we use, don't do only what we want them to do. They do other stuff. That's why when we kill dandelions, we kill lots of other things. We kill insects, we kill nematodes, we kill lots of bacteria and amphibian. We just kill a lot of stuff with our poisons because we want to kill a dandelion or crabgrass or some other thing that bothers us, irritates us. Mosquitoes, DDT. Rachel Carson told us way back in 1962, the DDT that we loved because it killed fleas and flies and mosquitoes was killing a lot of stuff, especially birds. That's it. That's the story of the human species. That's what we do. We are technological animals, and because we have knowledge and understanding and science and technology, we are very dangerous. Dangerous to all that lives, including ourselves. So climate change, environmental damage, lakes that are poisoned, rivers with lead in the water, ocean reefs, the reefs of the coral reefs are dying. Plankton is dying, shrimp are dying, plankton is dying. Stuff all over in the oceans, in the air, on the earth, in the soil are threatened. Threatened by us because we have so many unintended consequences. We've put so many toxins into the environment, including, of course, carbon dioxide and methane. Not necessarily toxins, but gases which change the atmosphere and change the atmosphere enough that the temperature could rise hot enough to start killing everything. Killing everything. So think about this fact, this scientific fact that the scientists tell us, the biologists, the zoologists, the astronomers, the physicists, they're all telling us that something is happening here which is dangerous to life. We could have a mass extinction. Mass extinction means multiple species, thousands of species all dying at the same time, and we might be one of them. As a matter of fact, there's an excellent chance we'll be one of them because we're so complex and we're so dependent on other species. We are dependent on insects to pollinate all the plants that produce fruits and vegetables that we eat. We are dependent on the insects and the other creatures that pollinate the crops that not only we eat ourselves, but we feed to livestock so that we will have meat to eat. So this is what goes on and has gone on for centuries, only of course it's been accelerated by our advances in technology and our conviction that we can solve every problem with a chemical that we can invent. Aren't we wonderful? We invent chemicals to kill stuff and to control stuff, to stop rust, to stop decay. So now we have landfills filled with innumerable tons, millions of tons of material that is going to take a long time to decay. Because that's what we want. We want stuff that lasts a long time. Well, wood isn't so bad. I've been to a museum where they had a chair that was made in 1400. So from 1400 to 2000, or 2001 is, last I checked, 600 years. So that's not long enough for wood. A wooden spoon, a wooden chair, a wooden house. So we're kind of crazy and irresponsible. And that's the bad news in the gospel, because there's a passage where Jesus talks about this really scary phrase, the weeping and the gnashing of teeth. What does that mean, weeping and gnashing of teeth? Well, it means deep regret. It means like, oh my God, what have I done? It means we have done harm that is irreversible. Imagine that. Imagine how horrible we feel. If we break something or steal something or spill something, we can correct it. But what if we kill somebody? Kind of hard to bring back somebody from the dead, isn't it? We haven't done that very often. Irreversible damage is devastating to the human heart, the human mind, the human soul. And that's what Jesus is talking about when he talks about the weeping and the gnashing of teeth. He's talking about you and me crying, weeping, moaning, just falling apart with uncontrollable emotional and spiritual pain because we have destroyed life on earth, including ourselves. We had an opportunity to be good stewards. We had the opportunity to be caretakers. We had the opportunity to be the artists that protect and enhance and glorify the beauty of life on Earth. I mean, this planet is so incredibly beautiful. Films have been made about it, documentaries. God bless all the naturalists and the wildlife photographers who go out into dangerous places and produce the films and the photography that shows us how incredibly beautiful this Earth is. The trees, the forests, the waterfalls, the rivers, the lakes, the exotic animals, the birds, the fish, the whales. I mean, someone could talk for hours and hours about the beauty of life on Earth, including us, including all the varieties of humanity. The different groups that we call races, which some people feel a race is just something we manufacture, doesn't even exist. The different cultures, the ethnic groups, the philosophies, the religion, the poetry, the artistry, the statuary, the paintings, the pictures, the drawings, the dance. All this fantastic planet with a fantastic living and life-supporting environment. And we could be responsible for killing it. That's right. We could be responsible for committing the murder of life on Earth. Simply because we don't like inconvenience. We want everything to be convenient. And we have lost track of our unintended consequences. We've lost track of all the harm we are doing. So what Jesus has told us, the science from Jesus, the bad news of the gospel, is this focused message. If we do not take care of the living things, the life and property entrusted to us, and the property means all the property, especially the property that supports life. If we do not take care of the life and property entrusted to us, we will lose everything. And that's what's happening. We have to control the carbon dioxide. We have to control the methane. We have to stop using toxins for every problem. We have to reteach ourselves how to recycle, how to take all the toxins out of the environment and sequester them. Do something with them that makes them either totally harmless or certainly less harmful. This is what we have to do. This is our responsibility because we are capable of understanding, because we understand cause and effect. This is what makes us technological animals. This gives us power and freedom and great responsibility. That's the message that I have wanted to convey all my life. It's one of the 4 tasks I wanted to complete before I died. And I have, in a sense, but I don't know who's paying attention or if anyone's paying attention. The book is available, The Primacy of Stewardship. You can order it online. I don't think bookstores carry it because it's not a big money maker. I think I've made about $15 in 10 years. So here's another question just to throw in here. Why is this idea so strange to people that Jesus was teaching science? Why do we have it, in our heads like a rock, like a piece of metal or a stone or a bowling ball? Jesus was talking about sex. He doesn't want us to be bad sexually. Jesus was talking about lying and stealing and being selfish. Well, of course he was, of course, because to be a human community, we have to be cooperative and we have to support one another. We have to have rules so that we're fair to one another. That isn't necessarily just morality, it's science. It's social science. That's what's called social science, psychological science. There isn't a credible science anywhere who tell you that, well, don't steal. That's just morality. It doesn't matter. If you want to be a really practical person, go out and steal all you want. If you want to be a practical person, it's okay to kill somebody you don't like. It's okay to set houses on fire. It's okay to destroy the environment. It doesn't matter because that's practical. That's total nonsense. That's idiocy. We don't have two universes, one for morality and one for science. There's one universe, and the science and morality are entangled. They overlap. And in many cases, they are exactly the same thing, and that's the case with the primacy of stewardship. For us to be good stewards, for you and me to be a good servant and take care of that which is entrusted to us, that's not just morality. It's practical. It's responsible. It's science. And that's the message from Jesus. If we fail, we will experience profound regret. As the insects die, the birds will die, the toads and the frogs, all the animals that depend on the insects. Many plants will die because they depend on the insects to pollinate them. They won't all die maybe, once overnight. This isn't going to happen in 3 weeks, but it might happen in 3 years. That's right. Plants will die, animals will die. The atmosphere will be difficult to breathe and won't support us properly. The heat, in many cases, people will just die from the heat. The temperature will go up to 120 degrees or 130, and people will just drop dead. The human body cannot cool itself unless the ambient temperature, the temperature of the atmosphere, has to be less than 98 degrees. And actually, it has to be significantly less. It's not good if it's 96 all the time or even 90. For us to really keep our bodies cooled down to the temperature that's normal, we need temperatures well under 95 degrees. Well under. The only reason we get through short periods of 100 degrees or 110 is because of all of our technology and we can find a place where there's shade, or we can find water to sit in, and the water cools our bodies. So some people will die simply from the heat, but then others who survive the heat will die from starvation, from a lack of water, from thirst. We will die because we won't be able to keep up with the dead bodies. Our neighbors are going to die, and we have to do something with the dead bodies. If the dead bodies are just left where they are, they're going to rot and carry disease, and then we're going to die even faster from horrible diseases. This is the abomination and desolation which is referenced at the end of the New Testament. This is the horror that we will bring upon ourselves if we are not understanding and accepting the scientific message of Jesus. Stewardship is primary. If we do not take care of the people and property entrusted to us, if we do not protect life on earth, we're going to lose everything, including ourselves, our species. We will all die. There will be the end of humanity on earth and an end to life on earth. Now, maybe it'll come back later, but it's a sad story. And that's the warning. That's the warning that Jesus delivered to us in his lifetime. And that message is directed to all humans. And these battles between the old Jews and the new Muslims, historically, the Muslims are new, more recent. Jews go back 3,000 years or more. These arguments about, who's really the people of God and what's the definition of God and what does God want from us. It really is a lot of wasted words. Because when Jesus came to us, his task was tell the human species what is the most important thing they need to know. What do they need to know to survive and thrive? And that's what Jesus taught us. The most important thing we need to know in order to survive and thrive. The primacy of stewardship. I certainly hope you got that message. I believe it's the most important words, the most important message ever spoken or written or delivered in the history of humankind. It's the message that tells us the great treasure we can hold and keep, the treasure of life, the wonderful opportunity and privilege to be the caretaker, and on the other hand, the weeping and the gnashing of teeth because we failed, because we didn't understand, we didn't get it. We got all kinds of other ideas in our heads about sexuality and who's really in charge and the superiority of one race over another. What ridiculous thoughts and ideas fill our head and cause us to miss the main message. This is the Science from Jesus, and I really thank you for listening. Have a good day, have a good life, and be a good steward.